All right. What's up? What's up? Today we're going to be talking about why you cannot be the average man. And this is a discussion that I've already heard on the internet quite a bit. And it's a take that I agree with strongly. Because if you are an intelligent individual, if you are an intelligent man, you're understanding what's going on in the larger scheme of Western civilization, right? We're talking about CBDCs, economics, inflation, the situation with women, marriage, all these things. There's not a lot of incentives, and this is something that I discussed in a previous video, rewards, incentives, etc. for you in place. There's not a lot of purpose in the work that you're trying to do. There's not a lot of directions that you can go to get these things. And in this space, people refer, they say like the online thing is like, oh, escape the matrix, etc. But really there's two paths. There's two paths that you can go down once you start heading down this road. There's the path of trying to escape the matrix, okay? And the other path is basically, I think, mastering or winning within the matrix. So if you've seen the movie The Matrix, you know a little bit about the story of the situation, right? Like Neo and the ones who have awoken from the system into the quote unquote real world and their escape, and they live in this sort of in what's called Zion in the film. And you have Neo, you have Morpheus, you have all these guys, right? On the flip side, you have in the second movie, you have a guy named Mahovinya, a very affluent, wealthy French guy, right? Who basically kind of runs the game within the Matrix. Yeah, Neo and Morpheus have to go through him when they're trying to do whatever the fuck they're trying to do. Now, these two paths or archetypes are basically the options that you're left with once I think you've kind of awoken to this system. You can go down the path of the Neos, the Morpheuses, etc., trying to escape, but there's a lot of reflection that needs to come with that, because what comes with that is basically the separation from society, because the society is the system, and the system is made for the norm. It's made for the normals. It's made for the masses. It's made for the average. All right. And once you awaken to the fact that maybe that's not for you, this path might be interesting as well. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Because, like we said, the ultimate objective is freedom. So going down this path, you might find people who get off the grid. They want to live off the land. They want to raise their family. They want to have a farm. They want to do these things. And I'm not knocking these things at all. I'm not knocking these things at all. I'm just saying that this is part of the path. Um, they might choose local options. They might refuse schooling systems. They might choose to homeschool their systems, etc. Very sort of like, I'm not gonna go all the way as far as Amish, right? But as far removed from the system as possible. And there's a great film, I can't recall the name of it, of the extremities of going that route. Where you see the father, he takes his kids, he raises them and homeschools them like very outside of the system. And there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to that. Because when you completely reject the system, you definitely will become the outcast to the system, and the system does not like its outcast. So if you have kids, they're going to be socially outcasted unless you're in also a similar community of like-minded individuals who are kind of outside the system. But that's not going to be the masses, and you have to understand that's not going to be the mass. That's not going to be the average experience. The average experience lives within the system. All right. When it comes to things like money, when it comes to things like exiting outside of the financial system, you see people talking about like bartering and getting outside the traditional currencies and everything like this. Gold, silver, all these things. And these things are true. Don't take what I'm saying as a statement against what I'm saying. I'm only putting the case forward. All right. Now, the alternative path, the other path that also exists is the path of Mohovinyan from the Matrix. And this is played within the system. Played within the rules and the confines of the system. Now, the pros and cons that come with that are that you get to take advantage of the system of the masses, being included in the financial system, being included in the average experience. If you choose to. The cons are that you have to subject yourself to some degree the authorities of the system. You have to play within their rules. You have to play within their game. You're not completely separate from it, like the other path is. And as a man, right now, really forever, but even before you could get by on being the average, you could still be okay. You know what I mean? Like in the early 1900s, 1940s, 50s, 60s, you could have an okay job. You could have like your average job. The money wasn't fucked up. You could do these things. You could raise a family, single household. Okay, so I'm not gonna get super deep into everything that's happened on the course up until now that's changed to from where we are today. But it basically doesn't exist anymore, and it won't exist ever again. When it comes down to things like mate selection, mating selection, partner selection for a guy, you could get by before being the average guy, get you a girl, get you a family, etc. Today, the average cost to just live that regular life is over $400,000 household income per year. Okay, now if you want to go take a look at the average statistics for the average income, it's not 400,000. It's definitely not that. And then when you go from there into the dynamics of the relationship, because that's household. So you might be bringing in, 150K, and you might be in a situation where your girl is bringing 300K. Now, some of us who already understand energetic polarity, anima, animus, female, male energy, we understand the dynamics are not necessarily conducive to what is a healthy energetic dynamics where you have the patron of the family, the patriarch, and then the matriarch that follows in suit as a partnership, but still understands her role as well, because the income equality thing or distinction between the two. So you gotta be, as a man, if you want that dynamic correct, you gotta be bringing in 400K minimum to sustain the average household, to sustain the average household lifestyle, 2 kids, house, car, college, right? All of these things. That's 400K minimum for you. All right, that's average. That's average at a healthy standard. But the average that is presented, that is being given, is much less than that. Most guys do not even make 100K. They do not make 6 figures. It's small. The percentage that make that is very small. Okay. So the average of what you need and the average of what reality is are completely unaligned. They're not aligned at all. And this is why I say you cannot be the average man, because the average man is here of what it is today, when it used to be here. And so what that leaves you with is 2 paths. Either you exit the game or the system, or either you do everything in your power that you can to become to become great within the system. To be able to get what you want. And that's the pressure of it. That's the pressure of it. That's the price to pay. Because both of those routes are going to come with extreme challenges. Extreme challenges. That the average, within the system is not necessarily going to have to deal with, because they just are too, nullified and brain dead to really kind of to be presented with that. So those are some things to think about. Either you exit or either you win. Those are the 2 routes. And so if you're gonna choose to try and win, if you're gonna choose to try to go the Mahovinier route, that's gonna take a whole other skill set. That's gonna take a whole other skill set. Now, ideally, you don't need to become Bill Gates. You don't need to become a billionaire. You just need to become well off enough to sit afloat or on top of all the bullshit that goes on underneath in these lower levels, right? And I think Kate said it best. I think around 30, 40, 50K a month, 500 post-tax, 500K post-tax, that's probably more than enough to be set, to be all right. You know what I mean? Then from there you can keep going. And even then, the thing is this, like, if you go back and you calculate, the thing is this, a lot of people, their perception is frozen based off of how they initially perceive the thing. So the generations before who are still alive, who have been alive for 40, 50, 60, 70, maybe even 80 years, when they think of $1 million, they're thinking of $1 million of what $1 million meant to them at that time. The thing is, today, if you calculate with inflation what $1 million is worth, back then, 30, 20, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's not even close to a million. So people today are thinking, oh, I need to become a millionaire, I need to become a millionaire, I need to become a millionaire. But they're calculating millionaire status on the purchasing power of the currency today. They're not calculating millionaire status on the purchasing power of 40, 50, 60 years ago. They're calculating purchasing power today, which the equivalent is not the same. So even when I say, 500,000, that's only because that is the equivalent of the average 40, 50, 60 years ago. It's not rich, it's just that's what the equivalent number is to match that number from 40, 50, 60 years ago with the purchasing power that was lost during that time period. So really, we're still trying to make up. Just gotta figure it out, bro. That's it.